Hi, my name is Anna Moyer and I'm the creator of Accessible Chef. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use the new recipe creator to create your own custom visual recipes. So if you're new to this site, you're going to want to create a profile. So navigate to this page called My Profile. And then if you have an account, you can sign in here, or if you need to register, you can click Need to Register, where you will choose a username, put in your email address, and then also choose a password. Then click register and it will take you to your new profile page. And so I haven't created any recipes yet, so nothing shows up on my profile page, but this is where you can see the recipes that you've created, your favorite recipes, and edit your profile. So now I'm going to navigate to the recipe creator, and this can sometimes take a little bit to load because there are a lot of images. So when you open up the recipe creator, you'll see a blank recipe. And the first thing you want to do is choose a recipe template. So over here on the right, these 9 squares say swap recipe template type. And your 3 options are standard length, which is the one that's already here, long, and short. And so the only difference between these recipe templates are the number of boxes for the ingredients and tools and steps. So I'm going to stick with a standard length recipe. And today I'm going to be creating a visual recipe for hot dogs. So the first thing I want to do is replace this recipe title by double clicking on it and then typing in hot dogs. And I can also change the font and the style if I wanted to. I am going to click on this and move it over so that hot dogs is a little more centered here. Now I want to add a picture of a hot dog. And so to add a custom picture to the recipe, I'm going to click on the camera icon over here and then click this click or drop images here button. And I've already created a folder on my computer with the images that I'm going to be using for this recipe. And so I'm just going to choose the hot dog. And you can see when you upload a picture, it automatically appears in the center of the recipe. I'm going to drag it up to the top here and make it bigger. Maybe move it over here a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do is add the ingredients for the hot dog recipe. So the recipe creator already has many ingredient and tool images loaded into it. And to access those images, you'll want to click on this icon with the picture here that says choose from available images, and then all of these categories for icons will show up on the right. And the first thing that I want to add to my recipe for the ingredients section is water. So I'll click on beverages, scroll down, and click the water so it shows up here. And I want to label that by double clicking the blank ingredient listing and replacing it with the word water. So I'll keep doing this for the remaining ingredients in my recipe. So for example, I want some hot dogs. You can also search up here instead of scrolling to look for a recipe or an image. Hot dog buns. So I'm going to click on the grains and pasta section and then look for the picture of the hot dog buns. And the last ingredient that I'm going to put in is just some ketchup. So I'll look in the condiments section for the ketchup. Now that I've added all of my ingredients, I want to delete all of these boxes that say ingredient because I don't actually want to put any of them in my recipe. So what I'll do is select the item that I'm trying to delete and then press the trash can button that's down in the lower left hand corner, and that will take these out of your recipe. And this is the reason that you want to choose a recipe template that has a similar length to the recipe that you're going to be creating. Because if you choose a very long recipe template for a short recipe, you're going to have a lot of items to delete. Next, I'm going to add the tools for this recipe by basically the same process. So I'll go back to the tools setting and I want to find a saucepan or a pot. I'm just going to scroll until I see one that I like, click on it, and I'm going to make this one a little bigger. It's small. Next, I want to add a sink, and so the sink is in the appliances section. You can drag in the corner until this is the size that I want. Stove. I want a fork, so a fork is in the tools section. But there are a lot of tools in this, so a good option is to search for what you're looking for at the top so you don't have to scroll through all of those images. Now this fork, I think I could make it a little bit bigger if I rotate it. So I'm going to use this circle arrow at the top, rotate it, and then drag it so it's a little bit bigger. And lastly, I want to find a plate. Now I'm going to go back through and label the items by double clicking on them and replacing the tool text with the text that I want. Another option you have once you've selected the text box is you can push this button with the T and the cursor and you can type directly into this box to change the text. Like before, I want to delete all of these extra boxes and text because I don't want to show them to show up in the final recipe. And these, they're kind of off the page, so I'm just dragging them up here so I can see that. So I'm happy with this first page. Now I need to move on to the steps section. So I'm going to click on this view down here that says steps number 1, and that's going to take me to the first page of instructions. So for this part, most of the steps that I'm using aren't actually loaded into the recipe creator, so I'm going to have to upload them myself. The process is exactly the same as it was for the ingredients and for the tools. And there are some cooking pictures in this section called actions. So for example, I think that there's one of putting water in a pot or some boiling water. But what I'm going to do now is just go back to this add image section and I'm going to add the pictures that I want to appear in the recipe, and I'm going to add them all at once. And they'll just end up here in the order that they've loaded. So my first picture that I'm adding is this one here. Put the pot on the stove. And actually the first step that I want to do is putting water into the pot. So I'm going to look through these pictures for actions and find one with a sink or putting water in the pot. And here it is. Just click that and it shows up. And then for the description, I'm going to double click instructions and replace it with put water in pot. Put pot on stove. And I'm going to go back to my uploaded pictures for the next few. Now this last box here, I want to have a stove temperature. So if I go to this section that says temperatures, it has various images of stove temperatures, and I'm going to use this one that says high. Okay, so now I've skipped ahead a little bit. I've completed the steps section of my recipe, and so now I'm ready to save it to my computer and submit it to the site. To save it so that I can load it into the recipe creator later, I'm going to click this floppy disk icon over on the left, and then enter a title for my recipe, hot dogs. And this means that if I wanted to load the recipe later, I could press this load arrow icon and it will load the hot dog recipe into the recipe creator. But I'm not going to do that right now. Instead, I'm going to press this cloud with the arrow on it to download it to my computer. Now I have a few choices when I download it. I can save the files as image files, so JPEG, PNG, or SVG, or I can download it as a PDF. And this button here, only export current showing view, lets you determine which pages you export. So I want to export all the pages and I want to save it as a PDF. So I'll just click this PDF button. Sometimes this can take a few seconds for it to save to your computer because it's a pretty big file. And it will just download in your browser there. I can see it down at the bottom of my screen. So if you just wanted to create a recipe for yourself, now you're done. But if you want to share the recipe on the Accessible Chef recipe, you can scroll down and fill out this form where you can fill in the title, upload an image that will show the finished product of your recipe. You can fill in a short description of your recipe, the category. So this is a main dish. I'll say it's intermediate. Then put in your name here, and your first name will be used to show that you created the recipe. Your last name will be shared on the site. Type in your email address just so I can contact you if there's any sort of problem. And then if you would like to, you can share your website or social media page, and I will put that on your recipe page as well. Then press the Submit Recipe button, and it will send the copy of your visual recipe along with the information about the recipe to me, and I will post it on the Accessible Chef website.